Yo, people who like to listen to Joey D talk about random topics for prolonged periods of time, gather here. It appears that we are back on Q&A time. I have many Q&As. No, I have many Qs in here and many As in here, right? And today that's what we're going to do. I think it's been too long, right? Because I used to upload Q&As quite frequently on the main channel. Well, I really just used to do it when I had nothing else to upload, just to remind people that I exist. And then at some point, I kind of came up with a sense of direction for that YouTube channel. Videos had to have a point to them. That probably made it worse, to be fair. And I just felt like there was nowhere for Q&As to go. But now I've got this channel, and I actually really enjoy doing Q&As because it's not that I feel I have some sense of profound wisdom. It's really that a lot of my YouTube videos these days, especially, they have a plan to them. Like, not on this channel, on the main channel. They have a plan to them, right? Which means that I've already kind of decided what I'm going to talk about, because there's got to be a point. You got to practice some form of like brevity, be succinct, get to the point, haven't you? Do you know what I mean? So you're not wasting people's time just babbling about shit, right? And that means that you're talking, having thought about what you're going to say. And I really don't feel like that's a good outlet. Do you know what I mean? It's fine for, it's not just fine. It's necessary for when you're trying to get a point across, but it's not really like how you express yourself. You don't feel any kind of outlet. You don't feel like you've got anything off your chest. Like, it's not like satisfying. I much prefer to talk without thinking about talking, right? You know what I mean? Some kind of instinctual communication. And I feel like I get this from Q&As. So maybe I'll do some more here. Who knows? You know what? I might even do? You know what I thought about doing? I could even just do Q&As and upload them like as podcasts, right? So that you can just listen to them without watching my head, which is probably a preferable scenario. Could stick them on the podcast channel, could stick them on like Spotify and everything if that's of interest to people. Anyway, let's just crack on with some questions, because I can already see that I'm going to have to change battery at some point, which is mildly inconvenient. Right, I screenshot a load of questions off Instagram. Let's do it. What things have you learned from becoming a parent? Right, I'm going to answer this one because I got many questions about, the transition from non-parent to parent. A lot of them were along the same vein of realizations, epiphanies. What's different? I think mentality-wise, philosophically, I don't really think that much changed. Probably just a reinforcement of your initial ideas about the universe and life. You know what things are true, don't you? I think sat here, everyone really knows what matters, right? People more than material goods, right? Time with loved ones, family, etc., right? Everyone actually knows that. It's not profound, but there's a huge discrepancy between what we know, right, and how we actually live, isn't there? Because really, we're all pretty wise. We're all probably as wise today as like the chief philosophical thinkers of thousands of years ago in terms of the actual knowledge. But in terms of putting that knowledge into practice in your everyday life, that's like the difficult bit in it. It's really weird how you don't do the stuff that you know you should do, or you don't live how you know you should live, because modern life has all of these other forces pulling you in different directions, right? Tempting you. What's the passage? Something about the path being beset with temptation. I don't know. Anyway, I think having a kid aligns how you know you should live and how you actually live a little bit more. You know what I mean? Which is good, right? I don't want to say cliche things. And I also don't want to, I'm somewhat cautious about talking about it too much, because if you say that your life is just worlds apart from how it was before you had a kid, if you say that before I had a kid, I've now realized that my life was devoid of any real sense of meaning or purpose. I mean, it actually wasn't, but it just feels like that relatively. Saying that almost feels like you are saying that about everyone who doesn't have kids, right? So you have to be somewhat cautious of how you describe. Like for me now, I would feel, let me just say, I'd feel different if I didn't. I'd feel kind of pointless, right? My life now feels like if I didn't have a child, it'd be kind of pointless. Now that I'm not saying that everyone else's is pointless. Like I'm not saying that mine actually was pointless before I had a kid, but it just feels like that. It just feels like before and after are just two separate lives, and one was not as good as the other, basically. Um, so that's as far as I'm going to go on that. I don't want to go off into just extreme descriptions of really the contentment and fulfillment and just pure, boundless joy that you experience. Do you know what I mean? It's good, and let's just leave it there. All right, let's do the next one. What's the one thing you miss about being in your early to mid 20s? It's a difficult one. I don't think anything immediately comes to mind. Like sometimes people ask you questions like this, like 3 lessons you learned when you were before you were 21 that you wish you knew now, something like that. And you don't always have immediate answers, right? Because I don't think many people go about life thinking like that. You don't really dwell on those things. I mean, you experience different. There are different species of happiness, and you actually need to be able to find and experience happiness, contentment, fulfillment, joy in different modes, in different, different types of those things, right? Because if all you know is one type of happiness, which when you're young tends to be like thrill, exhilaration, excitement, spontaneous, fuck it, let's go, be invincible, do mad shit. Like that's like pretty much archetype definition of happiness, hedonism when you're in your 20s, right? Or late teens or anything. And like if you think if that's the only happiness you're capable of, shit's gonna get weird and difficult, and honestly just like it's not gonna satisfy you forever, because like everything has kind of limits in terms of like you do get bored of excitement. Like that's a thing. You know what I mean? That sounds really, really weird, like, but you have to find not different things that turn you on, but different ways to be turned on, if that makes sense. So, I mean, sometimes I think back to like those days and I think, yeah, it's cool. It's cool to feel invincible, right? It's cool to have no responsibilities. Now, I think more if we go through a patch of turbulence, this is an example. Don't actually shit myself during turbulence. I don't think like, oh shit, I'm gonna die. What's all the stuff that I haven't managed to do? I think like, what's what's my son gonna do without me? Do you know what I mean? That's how you think, and like having responsibilities, dependence, it's different because you're not invincible anymore. Because even if you personally feel invincible, that impacts other people, right? So you definitely miss the freedom and invincibility of being young and feeling like nothing can get you, man. But such is life. You get a really brief period. A lot of the good aspects throughout life last only for a short time within that, and there will be different good aspects of being another age. Do you know what I mean? I think like your 30s is just is has a lot of good things about it in its own right. But that wasn't the question, so let's crack on. How are you? Fairly good, thank you. If having a kid is the best thing you can do in life, why should I chase a career in my 20s? Because you want to buy that kid shit. You know what I mean? Want to buy your kid a lawn so that you can boot a footy around and like goalposts and that. Also, because if you don't have one yet, then, you still need to be happy now. Also, because it's really weird. Like the question is really weird to say one thing is the best thing in life. You can't really compare having a career and chasing a career with having offspring, man. These are two entirely different things, right? And we obviously have a weird human tendency to just squish everything into one column where you can like organize everything in top versus bottom. What are the top 10 things in life, man? They're totally different. They're not even on the same, they're not operating in the same like universe, man. They're just totally separate things. You can't compare some things, not because one is crazy better than the other. That's still comparing. You just can't compare some things, right? It's like saying what's better, like a bacon sandwich or the color green. You know what I mean? It's just different, man. It's a. I don't think it's really a good habit to get into to even pose questions like that, man. So yeah, sorry for just pulling your question apart. But are you pro TRT? I'm 43 and just started using it. To be honest, like I haven't really looked into it that much. Like I've listened to the odd Joe Rogan podcast where he's mentioned it, and know a few people who are on or have been on TRT. Like I don't really know, man. Honestly, my approach towards everything is don't do something unless you really need to do it. You know what I mean? Especially with drugs, right? Especially with any kind of like medication, drugs, just generally like identifying problems. I don't believe anything's a problem until it's an actual problem. Currently, I'm 34. I feel fine. You know what I mean? This guy's 43. Maybe at 43, I'll feel different. So probably look into it more then. I'm definitely not against it or for it from any like moral standpoint. I mean, just do what you want in it. Women do like HRT and stuff. I guess there's a lot of kind of maybe more, maybe worse medical implications of lowering estrogen as you get older, or do you get more or less estrogen when you go through like menopause? Who knows, man? Should probably know. I don't really have much opinion on it. I'll probably research it if and when the time comes. I'm definitely not just going to hop on when I'm like young still, when I feel like there's absolutely no need. You know what I mean? What advice would you give to someone who is starting out as a creator based on your journey? Honestly, I'm probably not the right person to ask because I don't really have or have ever had that much of a plan, right? And it really has, what's the word? Hindered my growth on social media, right? Because I've always put a lot of emphasis, and I'm not trying to like claim some kind of like moral superiority, right? People like hear you say this shit and like think you're trying to be like the most authentic person, like them, you know. I'm not trying to like say there's anything bad about approaching it differently, but like there's always a balance between like making money and being, you know, getting some kind of satisfaction from what you're doing. And like some people are really lucky and those things align really closely. And for me, I would say that they align more closely than most people, but still it's not a one-to-one match. You know what I mean? Like I enjoy making some videos more than others. Some videos make me more money than others, right? And they're not the same ones, right? The ones I enjoy the most don't make the most money. So like sometimes I try and find a compromise within that video. Sometimes I go through phases of like making a few videos that I just enjoy, and sometimes I make a few that just make money. And like I've never really thought, if you look at my Instagram or my YouTube or anything, nothing's that consistent, right? Because the best thing to do is find a content format that works for you and just get better at doing it. Better as in like higher quality content, better as in being able to get it out faster, etc. Right. But to me, that feels like just creating your own production line. And like, I just don't want to live like that. And that's why I change formats in my videos. I change topics. I have like different YouTube channels. I start a finance channel and then fuck it off after 5 videos. I have this channel that I don't monetize at all. You know, I'm not the person. I've never once thought about like, what is my personal brand? You know, what does my profile look like? And like that is a hindrance, man. If your goal is make money, it's a hindrance if your goal is just make it as a creator. I've somehow got by, probably because everything I do, at least on the channel that makes money, I do put effort into it. So even if it's not a video that's about the usual fitness shit, right? Even if I make a random video about something else, or even back when I was making like travel vlog type stuff or anything else, right? I just put effort into it, right? I'm not lazy about it. And I also don't take it for granted that people are going to watch or that people owe me any kind of like loyalty. What even is loyalty when you think about it? Like, you know, loyalty should not apply to watching somebody's YouTube videos, right? You shouldn't just watch them because like you have some sense of loyalty, right? What that means is you don't really want to watch them. You should only watch what you actually want to watch, right? And I only want people to watch what they want to watch. I would hate for someone, you know what I mean? It's like your girlfriend staying with you because like she feels sorry for you or something. Like, I only want people to be here who want to be here, man. So yeah, I would just say that. I would just say, like, whatever you do. Just put effort into it. Don't take anything for granted. Don't take people for granted. Don't just purely sell. Don't blame the algorithm for shit content. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, whatever Instagram or YouTube do with these algorithms, right? It's still your fault, because if you see a good video or a good piece of content anywhere and you interact with it or like it or watch it, or even just watch it through to the end or whatever, right? That's because it was good content. Good content trumps the algorithm. And like, you can even like make the most of, not every video I've made is good content. A lot of them are kind of shit content, or they're like double the length that they actually should have been, or they're basically the exact same as a video that I've made 6 months before, or whatever, right? And like, you can certainly make the most of your content with like titles, thumbnails, etc. But at the end of the day, like, it still has to offer something to somebody. The good thing about mine is that, like, even if I repeat myself in fitness videos, which I've done like 1,000 times, right? Even if I repeat myself a lot of the time, because of the title and thumbnail, it reaches a different audience. So I'm saying the same thing, but it's to different people. My channel is like 60-70% new viewers every video, most videos, depending on the video. So I don't know if you got any nuggets of advice out of that, or if I just fucking babbled about shit. But if you're a bit younger, no child, no own home, would you still stay in the UK? I think I'd always base here, just because parents, family, that kind of thing. But I definitely spend periods. I think the one thing, I traveled a lot, right? I can't ever say that I didn't travel enough before I had a kid, right? But there's one thing that I kind of wish that I had done more, and that is kind of like live in places, even if it's just for like a month, 2 months, maybe, things like that. I'd have loved to have just gone to a city, get an Airbnb for a month, 2 months, live there for a bit, like, instead of being like a tourist, kind of do like working holiday type things. And really, I could have done that, in the early years of YouTube, before I was like in a relationship or anything. I could, even when I was in a relationship, but before I had a kid, like, I could have done that. Probably I could have afforded to do that. I don't know why I didn't. I think like a lot of COVID just fucked travel a bit, didn't it? And I did have some plans to do that kind of thing, which got a bit, backburnered. But that's the only thing. Like, I think it would have been fun to just go like stay in like Tokyo for a month, or like Singapore for a couple of months, or like, those like couple of those like capitals like Seoul and stuff like that. Seoul, whatever. That one. But apart from Australia, a couple of times, I didn't really do that. How did you manage / make the most of that feeling of restlessness in your early 20s? So this person's obviously watched a video or listened to a podcast or something where I've mentioned like a period where I was in like my first proper job kind of thing out of uni. I traveled straight out of uni for 6 months or so, and then worked behind a bar for another few months until I got a proper job. I worked not in, but for a bank. It was just boring stuff, really. Nothing on spreadsheets all day, like nothing exciting, like nothing glamorous whatsoever. And that period of my life, I was definitely restless, right? I was definitely restless because I just felt like I could do more, right? I just felt like probably wasn't destined for this kind of shit. I used to go into this office, do work that I didn't give a shit about, listen to people talk about. The worst thing is that people would talk about it. Like, you go on your break or lunch and that, people would be chatting about like work that they did and that, and I'm like, this ain't it, bro. This is not me. And I definitely felt restless. I used to have like these recurring weird dreams and stuff. I was at my wit's end from a spiritual fulfillment point of view. But I think you're going to go through periods like that in your life, aren't you? There's going to be times when you are like that. Yeah, so there's going to be times like that in your life, you know what I mean? And I don't really think that I did, manage it whatsoever. I just fucking endured it until I decided to do something different, really. And I probably endured it for the right amount of time, because I saved a bit of money while I was living at home with parents, like paying, a few £100 rent, not much rent, driving a shit car, I was making about 32 grand a year back then, which was pretty good. It was by far the most I'd earned in forever. And then I was probably saving about £1,000 a month, and I did it for like just over a year. So I saved like a good little nest egg, like 14, 15 grand, which I then kind of lived off for a while whilst I did a PT qualification that I never needed to do, and started on like YouTube and got shit running in that until I was actually making money. And it was really fine. It was cutting it fine. I really ran out of money as I started to make money again. A few times when I was at zero. So it worked out all right, but I don't think the period of restlessness, I don't think I've there was anything that I particularly did that guided me through it. I fucking just endured it and I hated it. And you know, I think it's just a consequence. I think partly it's inevitable at some point in your life because hopefully you've grown up and you've managed to get out of childhood and into adulthood with some sense that some belief that you have ability, some belief, some ambition, and some sense that you are capable of living a good life, of a life where you make enough money and you do something that you enjoy enough and you have enough free time or freedom to do, you know, to have a fulfilling life, right? Hopefully you believe that you can do that. You know what I mean? And that just means that anytime before you actually do that and that comes to fruition, you're gonna feel like there is some wasted potential here, right? There is something that I am not managing to get out, right? I have neurons that are firing shit around, right? This is perfectly biologically accurate, right? Like there's potential in there, right? That is somehow not getting out of my head, out of my brain, into and affecting the real world around me, my actual existence, right? And the effect of that, right? You're gonna feel restlessness. You're gonna feel like you haven't really, you know, but get rid of it, man. Just do something, you know what I mean? And then the bad news is probably gonna hit you again at some point in life. You know what I mean? You don't just cure it. You don't just do something new and cure it, because then at some point you're gonna feel that same kind of feeling again. You're gonna have to do some new shit again. You know, you're gonna have to crack on, man. Sorry about that, camera cut out. I think we were towards the end of that question. Let's crack on. How have your goals shifted since you started your career? I feel like your 30s bring about mad change. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they have too much. Definitely, you know, I've never really been particularly like financially motivated. Like, I want to make loads of money, of course, right? Because apart from anything else, right, it'd be fun. Obviously, you can do good shit with that money, right? You can like help people out, like sort your loved ones out. You know what I mean? But also, it's going to be loads of fun for you. And also, it's just the challenge, right? Everyone's in this game, playing this game, right? This career game. You can call it the rat race, right? Where you can call it just being plugged into the fucking capitalist matrix, mate. And everyone is essentially playing this game. And partly it's just for the hell of it, right? It's just a challenge in it. It's just like, see if you can, because what else are you going to do, right? But having said all that, I'm not particularly financially motivated. I don't know what I'd do. I don't have any plan. I'm not like, oh, as soon as I make so many million quid, I'm going to do this with it, right? I'll probably live the exact same life I live now. I have a slightly bigger house, you know. That's pretty much it, man. I think my goals, I think how I envisage life long term is I want to live a more, I want to be able to have more freedom for hobbies. I want to do probably more creative shit. I want to live less of a science, right? I feel like my life is too much science right now. Do you know what I mean? Because everything like running businesses is like just a very analytical process, and like talking about fitness shit in videos all the time means that you have to read these boring ass studies, like, and the same when you have a fitness app and you have to keep it up to date with, you know, the latest science, right? I feel like my life is very engulfed, not engulfed. That's a bit of an extreme word. It's very science focused, right? And I don't know if I get that much joy out of that anymore. I used to be a science person, right? I did a maths degree at uni. And now it just turns me on less. And I feel like I want to live more of I feel like I get more satisfaction out of the arts a bit more. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like I want to live a more creative life and be able to express creativity and do shit and make shit and learn shit more now, more as I get older. I feel those creative desires more as I, you know, that's I don't know if it's relative to my 30s or as a general aging thing, or it's just like a career thing that I'm at this point. But I would say my goal is to live a life that allows for more of that, right? That allows me to, I want to write things, you know what I mean? I want to make cool videos. I just want to make fun shit, man, and like experience feels. Don't know if that made sense, right? what part of fatherhood are you enjoying the most? Ah, man, it's difficult. Cass is now 14, 15 months and he learns new shit every day, man. I think there's probably a few things, right? One is when he just says new shit. So he says turtle, right? And it's the cutest word ever. He goes, turtle. I'll try and get it on camera sometime, right? But it's the cutest word ever, right? He says new shit. He's recently started like walking and then essentially trying to run. Watching him learn new stuff is crazy, man. It's just mad satisfying. He's just so funny. Like kids are the funniest, right? That's probably one part that I enjoy most. Another I would say is just like the times when pretty much every night. So Mags pretty much has him throughout the day while I work, and then I mean we sometimes have meals together, things like that. But then like she'll clock off about 5ish, right? Get a shower, do whatever she wants to do, like have a bit of time, and for like an hour or so, a bit more every night, I will just play with him, right? And part of that is just like chucking him around on the bed, chasing a ball around, like just doing fun shit with him, man. And like you obviously have to still be you can't like lob him about yet because he's still a bit young for that. But it's just dad, just sheer dad energy, man. Just dad stuff. Like it's the funniest, it's the best. He just laughs, he just loves it, mate. And that's probably the best part of every day, really, and the best part of life, to be honest. What do you suggest people do to overcome risk-averse behaviour? It's one of those things, like, I think, you can become quite risk-averse just as a result. It could be your upbringing, it could be nothing to do with your upbringing, but, like, other, like, individual events that have happened to you, stressful shit throughout your childhood or adolescence or whatever, right? You can get to adulthood and feel like you're not capable of taking the risks that you need to take to get to a life that you want to get to, right? I don't really know. I've definitely felt like that before, but I think the only thing that is certainly true about this is that it's habitual, right? It's something that you need to practice, right? I have definitely been through periods of my life where I've been more of a risk taker. And if I then, just by chance, I'm living a different way, I'm like trying to get my head down, do some work for a few months or whatever, I'm doing less stuff, I notice that it makes me less inclined to start taking risks again, right? And I think it's something that you just have to maintain rather than, I think a lot of things in life are things that you have to maintain rather than things that you can just get to achieve once and keep. Essentially, you can't really take anything for granted, right? If you're really risk averse, then of course you just have to start with small shit, right? Because if it goes both ways, it's still a win, right? You either take a risk and everything turns out fine, in which case it reinforces the idea that you can take risks, right? Or you take a risk, everything doesn't turn out fine, but still 99% of the time, everything actually does turn out fine. It might be embarrassing or whatever, but like you don't die, you survive it. You wake up the next day and you're like, all right, sound. It still reinforces that you can take risks. So like, I guess you just need to progressively overload on the risk taking, man, and just keep it up. Someone says mustache. Cool. Do you regret training legs? I don't regret training legs, but I definitely regret spending so much time on calves because really, at the end of the day, who cares, man? People don't really see them that often, and the time that you put into training calves for the reward that you get, it's really one of the most worthless things you can possibly do. I recently just dropped my calf training volume down to like just bare minimum that I can possibly like live with, because do I actually care about a greater calf circumference? Resounding no on that front. So yeah, definitely regret spending so much time doing fucking calf raises, mate. Is there anything worse? No worse way to spend your life, honestly. A lot of things I'd rather endure than that. I've even filmed it. You've watched some of it, man. I apologize for that, honestly. People need a podcast. Yeah. Again, that's one of the things. Like, I'd like to find time to bring back, to just do more podcasts, chat like this. Maybe, to be fair, like this kind of thing would also scratch the itch for me. So like, if not podcast, then I'll just do more Q&As like this because I like it, man. How come you don't ski? I actually do ski. I just haven't for quite a few years. I think the last time I skied must have been 2017, man, which was too long. I will be going skiing as soon as reasonable. Probably try and get away with a few mates. And then as soon as Cass is old enough, I mean, it depends if we have another that's then tiny. But as soon as Cass is old enough, he will be skiing, man. Do you know what I mean? I love seeing little kids ski. They're just fearless, mate. And they're always dead good at it as well. Way easier to learn to ski when you're a kid. I was like 8 the first time I went skiing. screams privilege on. A bit generic, but anything significant in life you wish you had done differently? Probably not, to be fair. I wish that I'd spent time more productively while I was at uni, because I think my final year or my second year of uni, I was in like not many hours a week, like 15 hours a week. And I really didn't do that much work outside of my lectures as well. I know you're supposed to then like double that, right? But what I did was spend a lot of time watching like Scrubs and Gilmore Girls, and like just sat in my apartment doing absolutely fuck all, playing Football Manager and that. I feel like I could have used that time to do something productive. Definitely should have used that time better. You know what? I don't know if I'd even go to uni, to be honest. I probably would. I probably would. But I probably wouldn't study maths. I would probably study probably astrophysics, something like that, or something like that. I don't know. That's not really a major significant thing that would have done differently, or it's not really. I wouldn't really class it as a regret, because everyone has been through periods, right? Everyone's been through times when they could have just like done some better shit, right? There's many things in life that I've absolutely fucked up, right? But I'm still here. It's fine. Still, it worked out fine. Hair transplant, lad. Probably not going to get a hair transplant. Obviously, I've got this light position in such a way that it truly does emphasize the thinning nature of the hair on the top of my head. I do notice in a lot of training clips that I am featuring my bald patch. Not bald patch, but extremely thin, almost bald patch. Obviously, I could cut those clips out. Not really going to, don't really care. Like, obviously, I do care about going bald. Not going to pretend I don't. I would prefer to have hair. That's better than not having hair, I think. But what lengths do I really want to go to? How much do I really care? Like, I don't think I want to transplant, just because, I mean, the pattern by which I'm going bald, I feel like I just have to get another, I'm still going to keep thinning in other places. You just have to keep doing it. Also, I don't want a fucking Lego fringe. Also, don't want a scabby head for like 3 months or whatever. I just don't think I'm willing to go to those lengths. So never say never. Probably not for a hair transplant. Probably just go bald, man. Probably just keep my hair for as long as is like reasonable. Maybe do some kind of I'm not going to take finasteride either, because like just side effects. Don't want to. Probably want another kid. Definitely want another kid. So not going to take finasteride either. Probably going to avoid most drugs, all drugs if possible. And just if there's anything else I can do to mitigate it, I might do. Bit of red light on the dome, supposed to help. Maybe I'll do a bit of that. There's other things like, I don't know. I'm not against doing anything in principle. There's just like limits to how far I would go. I suppose it's just a natural process of aging. I've been kind of lucky because my brother went bald a lot younger than me. My dad went bald when he was in his like 20s, right? Like early to mid 20s. So you got to count your chickens on. Is that a thing? Count your chickens, count your blessings, something. Point is, I've got this far with her. I'm already married. Pretty sure she won't divorce me, hopefully. So probably just go bald. Is what it is. It's fine in it. You have to be bald. You have to accept, you have to accept shit. I think we live in a culture of just not accepting shit. Like, it's fine to be, you don't have to be like bulletproof. Like, you don't have to have no self-consciousness at all. You don't have to be completely indifferent about going bald. You can be bothered about it, man. You can be a bit arsed about it. But like, we live in a culture where like you just not accept, like everyone just completely doesn't want to accept that. Like, the most fundamental fact of the universe is that the arrow of time travels in one direction. I think so. You have to check my physics on that, but I think that's true, right? At least it does for us. At least there is no way of us changing that. That is the most fundamental truth, which means another fundamental truth, which is implicit in that, is you age, people get older. How can we not accept the most true thing, the most inevitable fact of life? Anyway, so yeah, probably not. All right. If you were to redo your 20s, would you lean more towards work or play? I think I had a pretty good balance. I don't think I would change it, really, because, I mean, it's never balance, is it? Balance is just an illusion, man. It's just phases of focusing on different things, really. It's you can flick between extremes and it looks like balance if you squint, but I definitely don't think I could play anymore, because I think I did a lot of that. And I don't think I really need to work more, because I arrived at my 30s where I'm like, I'm not rich, man, but I'm like, I'm comfortable, you know what I mean? I'm like, psh. Like, if I stopped earning money now, it would be a while before I have to think about it again. I'd obviously have to like, think about maybe going Aldi instead of Tesco for a bit, stuff like that. But I'm all right because my bills aren't crazy, shit like that. I'm pretty sound, so I don't think I really needed to. I really would have needed to. Sorry, people got cut off again, but I think it was about done. Anyway, let's crack on. So, what made you realize that you are happy in life? That's a tough one. I don't think that I ever did realize that, really. I don't think that that's how I look at it, because I would say happiness is not something you are, but something you experience for a bit, sometimes to varying degrees. You know what I mean? And if you look at it as an experience rather than something that you are, then you ain't that sad when you realize that it is always fleeting, right? It's different. There are peaks and troughs, and sometimes peaks last a while, and sometimes they're higher than other peaks. Sometimes you experience a really high degree of happiness for a short period of time, or sometimes like your base level seems to be elevated for a while. Vice versa, sometimes it ain't so good. I think that's just the natural ebb and flow of life. I don't think it's something that you ever achieve, because an achievement, or describing it like that, makes it sound like then you've got it. You know what I mean? But it's probably always temporary. You know what I mean? It's not something you can ever take for granted. So I don't think there's definitely been moments. There are many moments in life, you know what I mean, that I've been lucky enough to think, shit's decent, man. It's really decent. I really do think that, like fair enough. You know what I mean? Feel quite, it's good. Definitely been many moments in my life where I've just been lucky to feel a good, nice, warm, fuzzy feeling of love for just existing, just being, everything and everyone that I get to experience, right? But it's obviously another thing that you just have to try and maintain. It's weird because, like, although I really do enjoy thinking about and talking about happiness as a topic, I don't think I really dwell on my own. I'm not often getting up and like rating my day out of 10 and being like, oh yeah, I was like 8 out of 10 happy today, but this could have been better, or that could have been better. I think that's one of the difficulties of life, really. It's like managing all these things that you need to manage, or like thinking about them, or like it's like being conscious of things such as your own happiness without being consumed by them. So I think on a day-to-day level, I don't even think about it, mate. When I look back, I can definitely say that like I've been really lucky at times. Most of the time I've been really lucky. But yeah, I'm not thinking about it every day. Ba-da-ba-ba. How did you stop being anxious about the future, i.e., life after uni / next stage of life? I think that probably comes back to luck again. I don't think I've got a particular secret method. You know what I mean? Just manifest shit, bro. I just think that somehow I got out of childhood believing that I was like somewhat capable of navigating my way through life, and that made me probably less prone to anxiety about the future, what I'm going to do. Definitely had it, definitely didn't know what I was going to do when I left uni, and that's why I made sure that I saved some money whilst I was in uni, so I could travel for a while afterwards, because, people say traveling's about the traveling. It's really about not being an adult for a bit longer, you know what I mean? Because, deciding what you're going to do forever is difficult, and I mean, that's the way it's posed. It actually doesn't ever have to be the thing you do forever. It's just the thing you do for a bit. But you're always in the future, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? You're in it now. You can't really be anxious about it because, like, oh, look, now I'm in it. Does that make sense? If you don't already have that sense of like, I suppose what I'm describing really is confidence. If you don't have confidence that you can just navigate shit on the fly, then you're gonna have to make more plans, man, because preparation will be your friend in that case. But I think a lot of it is not that people don't believe that they can do something good. It's that they don't know what the good thing is, right? And a lot of people go through their whole lives never finding out the good thing. I think that thing, the one thing, bit of an illusion, bit of a self-improvement, self-help book bullshit. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like find your passion, dig deep, be introspective as fuck. I think you just got to try things until something is good enough to be the thing for a while until you stop liking the thing and then try different things and do another thing. Was that helpful? Probably not. Ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. What are your main values and principles in life? Sorry to get deep with it. Don't be sorry, man. Have you noticed? These are the questions that I choose, man, because I can't really be asked answering questions about if I use a sleep tracker, you know what I mean? So again, not something I dwell on too much or think about too much, I suppose, because you don't really have to think about it when it's so ingrained and when you're so sure of it, I suppose. I suppose my guiding principle in life is not to take it too seriously for a start, because I think that is pretty fatal. I am very wary of overthinking a lot of stuff, because when I look at, I think, people my age or younger or society generally, I think there's a lot of just wasted potential and, paralysis that comes from overthinking things. I think we're also encouraged to overthink things because people talk like self-improvement, people talk or write in ways that make them sound like they know shit. And so I think you're encouraged to think more than you should think, which obviously has to be parsed with, you can't go in life blind. Certain things need some consideration, but the more I think about life, there is a lot of nuance and there is a lot of contradiction and there are a lot of things that seem to work against each other that you have to find a either compromise on or balance between or approach to. I think one of the real challenges of life, at least these days, is being your own person and being self-reliant and making your own decisions and choices and expressing your autonomy as an individual without getting entirely consumed in the idea of yourself and who you are, who you're going to be, who you want to be, what you stand for, and letting these questions just consume you, right? And just take over you to the point where all you do is think about yourself and who you are. That is a real challenge to act as an individual without being overly concerned with who you are as an individual. It sounds kind of weird, but I suppose I just want to go through life. I want to make my own choices and my own decisions. I don't want to be. I just want to be a person, my own person. I suppose that's one thing. Don't know how far, deep or wide I could go on that answer. What do you think of kids having influencers as idols now that you're a father? Yeah, it's a good question. You get a lot of these questions that are generally, if it's not about influencers, it's about something, right? What do you think about woke culture, or what do you think about this or that, or phones or TikTok, or, as a parent, you of course can mitigate what you might think of as bad influences, right? But what is better than that is just equipping your son or daughter with the ability to independently judge and, critically think about everything that they come across, because you really can't protect anyone. You can't, unless you're going to be like North Korea on it, you know what I mean? Even then, they're going to get a VPN, man, you know what I mean? Unless you're going to isolate them and completely cut them off, you can't protect your child from what you might think of as bad influences, right? The best protection is just to, try and give them the tools to think for themselves and make their own judgment on these things, right? And so influencers, you can chuck into a big bucket, right? And you can say, well, we're talking about the average, aren't we? Of some people I think are probably good people to follow, right? Some are probably not good people to follow, right? And they're gonna come across both, but they're gonna have to fucking figure it out, man. Like everyone else has figured it out. I see this a lot. You see it a lot. I think you have to be careful of. We already do this, right? We already take too much personal responsibility away from the individual. Now, of course, you have to protect like vulnerable people. So advertising certain things to certain people should be like, in some way regulated or limited, etc. You probably should stop certain content from reaching a certain age group. People who have got eating disorders probably shouldn't be subjected to certain content, or people who, you probably shouldn't put a bookies next to a gambling rehabilitation center. You probably shouldn't even put it next to a fucking Weatherspoons, to be fair. You know what I'm saying, right? You should protect, you want to live in a society where you can protect the most vulnerable, right? But everyone else has to be a human, has to be a person with independent judgment, and has to take some responsibility for themselves, right? And like there's a balance there to be had, right? And that's kind of becomes quite a political issue about how big should government be and how encroaching should they be, or how much should they trust you. Like in the UK, we're trusted to cross the road, right? In America, the land of fucking freedom, you have to go find a crosswalk or some shit like that, But then vice versa, there are instances over here where we are like a bit of a nanny state, etc. Right? And I think there's a balance to be had societally, in where we place the level of personal responsibility. Now, I would like to raise a child who is very independent, responsible, can judge and think about things for themselves. And that's my job. That's really everyone's job, I think, as a parent, and that means sometimes not acting intuitively. It means not always protecting them from certain things. Again, controlled exposure to risk, things like that. So not worried about it is the answer. Not worried about the influence of influencers, because what I mean, we're all living through that now. What do you think accelerated your YouTube growth? My YouTube growth, I mean, it's all relative, innit? Some people can hammering away for the same period of me and still nowhere near. And some people like get to millions in this time. You know what I mean? So it's all relative. I don't know where you can really place it on the scale of overall number of YouTube channels. But I think like when I started, having an actual point to the videos, there was a point really, if I'm gonna go into it, let's go into it. Now's the time. I kind of saw the writing on the wall with like fitness vlogging, especially as you get older, you get less interested in like partying and all this other stuff. Like you can't really maintain that type of video. And also it was kind of dying a bit, like in the sense that what is a fitness vlog, right? It's just a normal vlog of which there are plenty of vloggers, except the person in it goes to the gym for a bit. Some section of it is like some lifting footage, right? And I looked at it and thought, like, what's the point of this? Do I really want to point the camera at myself that much? Do I really want to be like following myself around all day, every day, talking about the ins and outs of like my life? It wasn't really like appealing to me. And I don't think it was really appealing to other people that much anymore. And so I started making videos with a point. Like it was about something, it was about a topic. I started thinking about the title and thumbnail before I picked up the camera, which seems really basic, but I used to just pick up the camera, film stuff, and then be like, oh, what should I use as a thumbnail? What should I use as a title? And like when you see my overall channel growth, there is an inflection point. There's a clear point where like it's growing this fast, and then it hits the point and just starts growing this fast, right? There's obviously little ups and downs within that. But I just really got a bit smarter about titles and thumbnails and stuck to the point, and made things a bit more succinct, and kind of pivoted into what I would call predominantly informative fitness from fitness vlogging. And that's really what accelerated my YouTube channel growth. Are you doing any work as an employee these days, or are socials still paying the bills? Yeah, I don't really do any like ads anymore. I mean, I might do, I just haven't for a while. And I don't have any long-term contracts like sponsors or anything like that. You don't see me posting shit on Instagram, all that kind of thing. So that's because my focus has wholly been on the app, and I do now pay myself from that company. Still not that much, but I do pay myself from that company. I also make some AdSense revenue on the main channel, which is pretty decent, to be fair. And that's it. So a lot simpler now. I probably don't earn as much now as I have done at certain times in the past, but that's because I'm kind of focusing on the app business and not really paying myself that much from it either. Long hair ever making a return, lad? See earlier question about impending baldness. When will you post more constant videos? In brackets, please. I don't know if I will. I'll definitely try to, but I'm honestly not that far away from the limit right now, because I do everything myself. Like I film most of my stuff myself on a tripod. Occasionally get somebody to do some gimbal shots for me, edit everything, and that takes a long time. Make my own thumbnails, all that kind of stuff, and it takes a while. And that means that there are limits on how many videos I can get out unless I want to start outsourcing things, which does really affect the enjoyment of it for me, and it's just not something I'm prepared to do right now. How to leave the comfort zone and travel freely without anxiety. You probably can't do that, man. I think anxiety is there's definitely periods in your life where you'll be generally anxiety free. I've probably been lucky enough to live a lot of my life quite anxiety free, but there are still going to be periods when you do things bother you, you're worried about shit or stressed about shit. It's just you can't get through life without it, man. Like just accept it is the biggest, the best thing you can do is just it's fine, man. You know what I mean? Like the best thing to do about when you're stressed is just joke about how stressed you are. Like it's fine, mate. It happens. Like obviously there's levels. If it's crippling, if you can't walk into a restaurant because you're scared there's not going to be any tables, and then you're going to be stood there and everyone's going to be looking at you, and then you're going to get embarrassed and people are going to be like, why is that weird guy stood up? And which is never going to happen, right? But if it's crippling you and you can't, then I mean you need therapy, not me. Do you know what I mean? That's something. Did that sound like it was condescending? Or I genuinely mean that. If it's crippling anxiety, then it is something that I am not equipped to help with. But everyone feels a bit of anxiety here and there. Best thing you can do is just fucking serious shit ain't that serious, man. It ain't that serious. What are your favorite ways to build momentum in different areas of your? I'm not even. No to that one. Sorry. Appreciate the question, but it's just not something I ever thought about in my whole life. Build momentum, man. How do you go about setting goals for yourself, gym, relationship, business, etc.? I definitely don't really have relationship goals, or at least not in the traditional sense. You know what I mean? I want to really get on with my wife, argue as little as possible, enjoy each other's company. I want a good relationship, man. That's normal. It's not a goal, is it? It's the point. That's the point of it. That's not a goal because it should be the same for every relationship, isn't it? I mean, people don't mind different levels of arguing, but I'm not an arguing type of person. I don't really like it. I think it's not a thing. It's not something I want to live with, really. But I definitely don't have relationship goals. Gym goals, I just do what I want, really. Do whatever I feel like at the time. Business goals, I think there's definitely some, but it's just numbers, man. You're just approaching numbers, right? You're just thinking, oh, it'd be nice to make that much or make that much a month or whatever. But it's really just nice stuff. And then really business-wise, you just want to make a goal is to I want to make a product that people like, that helps people enjoy, and then everything else is kind of tagged onto that. But I don't have a method for setting goals. If I was going to set a goal, I just set a goal. I don't know I think I have a method for it, man. What advice do you have for someone looking to go traveling for a year? Just go traveling for a year, man. Don't know. Just look on a map, look at some YouTube videos, see where you fancy, and just go, mate. Travel light. That's my advice. Travel light. Google what scams are common in that area before you go, in case you're naive as fuck, like I was. I didn't actually get scammed. I just got really close to it. Smile at people, mate. It'll be fun. What life advice would your current self give you? No. Are you tempted to start endurance training? Yeah, I'm really tempted to go for long ass, boring fucking runs and actually demolish me knees for a lol, mate. Really tempted to make YouTube videos about going for a run, man. Really hyped to set up a tripod and run past it and grab it again. No, sorry, that was really didn't come across like I was a nice person then, especially if you like endurance training. It's fine. Just don't fancy it, man. How to know if a woman is really into you or if she is faking and using you? Probably never had that issue because my really good defense against that is having nothing to offer. You know what I mean? That's always worked for me. I always known that no one's been using me because there is nothing I could possibly offer them. Fatherhood sleep as bad as they say, or is it overblown? Tips. Right. Obviously very different for depending on the kid, right? Some kids sleep better than others. For me, he was a really good sleeper at the start. He's a really good sleeper now. There was definitely a phase or a couple of phases, especially like when they get cold or teething, things like that. It can be really bad. And there were times when I like did suffer with it quite a bit. But you also kind of get used to it. You just kind of get used to cracking on. Like I was almost like scared of it before I had a kid, because I thought like, oh, I'm gonna be training like shit and that. But honestly, once you get in the gym, you're fine. I would say I would be tempted to say that like kind of overblown. I'm not saying like poor sleep doesn't affect your performance. Of course it does, but you don't really notice it that much. You kind of get used to it. Anyway, it's all temporary, man. Have your thoughts changed on such materialistic things since actually gaining a few quid? Not really, because I don't really think I've ever really held that illusion of like this thing is gonna make me happy. Do you know what I mean? I don't really spend that much. Like, you've seen the clothes that I wear over and over again. I don't really spend that much money, right? The things that I spend money on are like traveling, and eventually will be a house, right? I definitely get turned on by like sick houses on Rightmove. You know what I mean? Look at houses more than I actually should look at houses. I find it like actually quite motivating. And maybe that is a materialistic pursuit, but I mean, I care about the environment that I exist in every single day. If that's materialistic, then so be it. But apart from that, like, not really, because I don't think I've ever really been like too in the materialistic vortex, so to speak. Do you ever miss the party lifestyle of when you were younger? Honestly, not really. Like, the reason I stopped partying was because I wanted to. You know what I mean? Like most things in life, if you do what you want, you'll end up all right. uh, and I actually did it for like a bit longer. I actually stopped late. I actually partied for longer than I really wanted to, because I was like, oh, maybe I do still want to. I should just make sure. I should keep going to Ibiza, man. I went to Ibiza about 3 times too many. You know what I mean? I stopped giving a shit about it like years before I stopped going. So by the time I did stop, I was pretty sure, man. I honestly don't miss. Like, I have no desire to party whatsoever. Like, I have really no desire to party now whatsoever. Like, I have social, I like to speak to people and have conversations with people, but I prefer to do that around a table and around food than to do shouting down each other's ear. Like, you know what I mean? I am boring. Like, I'm the type of, like, I'll walk into a place with Mags and I'll be like, music's a bit loud in here, isn't it? She's like, you're fucking boring, man. And I'm like, I know, it's fine. How to overcome negative mental chatter and prioritize action first in self-improvement. What? Let me say that again. How to overcome negative mental chatter and prioritize action first in self-improvement. This just sounds like a case of thinking about stuff too much. Do you know what I mean? I think you're thinking about doing stuff instead of just doing stuff, man. My camera's overheating, so it might turn off soon. That might be the end. I'm going to try another question, but if not, bye. All right, let's crack on. How do you deal with the idea of aging and time passing by? Yeah, again, like going back to the bald question. I don't really deal with it. There's a lot of questions that you get posed as like, how do you deal with this thing? I think it's a mistake to view things as things that you have to deal with. Things just are. Things are just things, man. There is no deal with. What happens if I don't deal with aging? If life is exactly the same, then it's it's a moot question, right? Because just keep breathing, man, which is involuntary anyway. Just keep going about your day, because there isn't really a choice, is there? Like, seeing things as something that you have to like deal with and emotionally overcome, to me that seems like it's just a bit of a, I don't think I'm going to do it. I don't think I'm going to partake in that game, really. I think I'm just going to carry on, just not thinking about stuff too much, because there are many ways you can live life, right? That, you can analyze everything. You can think too much and you can think too little, and you can think about the right things and the wrong things, and spend spend a disproportionate amount of time on things that you shouldn't, and not enough, on things that you should. And there are many philosophical viewpoints, many very different outlooks that will still allow you to navigate through life successfully, right? I just choose one that is less taxing on my brain, in terms of like ruminating on things, dwelling on things. I don't really entertain thoughts or let's just say I'm selective about thoughts that I will entertain and spend time and energy on, because I have thought a lot about life, and I have decided consciously that I don't understand it, and that there are many things that I don't understand, or that thinking about doesn't actually help. So that's how I live. At 26, feeling lost about what to do, been traveling for the past 6 years. Now what? Jesus Christ, lad, 6 years. That's a lot of putting shit off, man. That's gold medal in delaying being a grown up, man. I'd say you're probably an ideal candidate for just doing anything, mate. Just do something. You know what I mean? Just get a job, earn a bit of money, start thinking about, like, I don't know. It doesn't really matter what you do, because, you know, if you've been thinking about it for 6 years, I assume you were thinking about it for 6 years, if not longer, because you really start thinking about this stuff in like your late teens, don't you? If you've been thinking about it for that long, right, it's obvious that thinking about it isn't helping. You know what I mean? So what you have to do is not think more, think less. Just choose something and see what happens, and try at something, even if you don't think it is the thing, right? Just get a job that earns you the most money and try and be good at it for a bit. And you might hate it and then have to quit, but that's fine. At least you've earned a bit of money in, and, you know, what would you have done otherwise? Probably another few years of just bumming around. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, traveling's great. Do it as much as you can, but not as much as you can. Do you know what I mean? Not forever. Not for your whole life. You know what I mean? Anyway, why are cliche self-improvement videos / podcasts so popular right now? I mean, cliche is in the eye of the beholder. I probably say some stuff that people think is a cliche, which is in fact my worst fucking nightmare. But, you know, it's all relative to the viewer. I don't know why they're so popular. It's because it's probably a lot of things. People just say things. People say things that other people have said that they've noticed have gone down well. We have a tendency to just be agreeable. You know, the amount of times you see like a caption on Instagram and it's like, here's your reminder that not everything you see on social media is real, or some bullshit like that. And it's like, this is so unoriginal. And yet there are still people in the comments like, so raw, so authentic. This is why you're my favorite influencer. It's like, I don't know. People just say things because they want other people to agree with them for like affirmation. And then the other side of that, the audience side of it, I suppose people are in a world where there's so many fucking choices and so many options and like so many like really like new modern ways to get shit wrong, or to things that you can fall victim of, you know, in this modern era. Like, and people probably need a bit of direction, man, a bit of like make sense of it all. And so that's why that content, you know, probably goes down well. A lot of time people just need to hear what they already know, but a lot of time I think that can go a bit too far. Most of the time people need to hear what they don't know. I don't know, but I am equally as perturbed by cliches as you are, mate. You know, if not more. I think I'm going to end it there because that's loads. My camera's flashing at me. It's probably going to overheat. I've been on here for like 2 hours straight. I think that's probably enough from me. So yeah, we can do some more Q&As if you want to. You know, no pressure. I will get consent off you first. Let me know. Bye.